As president, I'm also taking on the gigantic health insurance companies that have gotten rich on billions of dollars of government subsidies. And I want the money to go directly to the people. I want the money to be paid directly to the people so that they can buy their own health insurance, which will give far better benefits at much lower cost. By the way, what I told you about buying the drugs at this massive dollar discount, it's like from where it is, that's going to have a huge impact on the cost of health care.
And there's President Trump in North Carolina on Friday pledging better health benefits at lower costs for American citizens. The president planning to meet with major insurance companies in a bid to cut prices even further, as about 20 million people will face a potential spike in premiums in the new year. Congress adjourning for the year last week without extending the Affordable Care subsidies. They are set to expire next week. Joining me now is Florida Congressman Byron Donalds, a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I know there was really no appetite in the House to even talk about extending these very costly subsidies that the Democrats put in place, since Obamacare ended up being much more expensive than anybody expected. So are you expecting blowback from your colleagues on the left when you get back in January?
Well, my colleagues on the Democratic left aren't even living in reality. Maria, they don't want to start with the problem. And the problem is the Affordable Care Act that was written by Democrats and health insurance companies, passed by Democrats and signed by Barack Obama. They don't want to make any changes to a health care strategy, bill, and law that has raised premiums and provided the American people with fewer options. That's the problem. So I think if you're going to talk subsidies, the thing that House Republicans are saying is, well, let's work together to find ways so we can pay for those subsidies, because they're not free. The second piece is that if you're going to have a subsidies conversation, start with the legislation that was authored by Senator Rick Scott, Representative August Pfluger. That's a great piece of legislation that will have serious changes to Obamacare, which is not affordable. And I think it's clear it's not affordable for the American people. It will bring real changes to that system. So you give the American people real options, couple that with what the president's talking about, taking those subsidies going to healthcare companies, actually giving them to the American people so they can use that to then purchase the health insurance they are looking for in a marketplace that has far more options with lower premiums. That's the path forward if you want to talk about subsidies.
Yeah, and I understand all that. I mean, look, we just spoke with Doug Burgum, the Interior Secretary, who walked us through the incredible cost of the Democrats' quote-unquote energy plan with all of these wind turbines that they're going to basically pause the leases on right now. And then you've got the Obamacare situation where it was much more expensive than anybody expected. All this very, very expensive policy from the Democrats, it seems so obvious to so many people if you actually just read it and understand it. So why can't the Republicans message this properly? How is it possible that the Democrats come in and start using affordability as their tagline for the 26 midterm elections?
Look, Maria, I think the key thing is when we came out of this shutdown, we should have had a health care bill. This is something that many members in the House have been preaching. When we got back to something I've said directly to the leadership and to the other members of the House majority is that we have to get into this game. We can't sit back and think that because Democrats have basically owned the healthcare message in polling over the last 15 years that we should not have a plan. We definitely need one. It has to be robust. It has to be serious changes that prioritize things like wellness and still access to preventative care, still dealing with pre-existing conditions, but driving down cost burdens. What the Democrats have done is a large regulatory mammoth bureaucracy run by the health insurance companies that will continue to increase costs. And Maria, it's important for the American people to understand the Democrats wrote the bill this way with the health insurance companies so they could usher in single payer health care. That policy has never worked anywhere in the world. It leads to lower outcomes health-wise. It leads to less access to doctors. It leads to less access to different procedures that the American people have grown accustomed to being able to access at just about any point that they need it. So Republicans, we have to have a plan. The time is over. We got to have one come out early next year to show the American people that we have something that is actually going to matter to their pocketbook, lowering costs for the American people.
Well, what else can you tell us about next year? Because President Trump has been promising bigger tax refunds for Americans due to the changes made in the big, beautiful bill. Louis Navellier, a very important market strategist, told me last week that he's expecting 5% growth in the economy sometime in the first half of the year. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was on with me last week. He says we should expect to see substantial refunds in the first quarter. Watch this.
Let's go back. The one big beautiful bill was passed on July 4th, but for working Americans, it was retroactive to the beginning of the year. Most taxpayers did not change their withholding, so as a result, we're going to see very substantial 100 to 150 billion of refunds in the first quarter go directly to Americans' pockets. So the sooner they file, the sooner they'll get them. Our estimate is it could be 1,000, 2,000 per household, depending on the number of workers.
Your reaction, Congressman, what do you expect in the first half of the year in terms of the impact from your work and the president's big, beautiful bill?
Scott Bessent is absolutely correct. I think he's right about this. The refunds that the American people are going to receive, especially working families all across this country, is going to be substantial. The standard deduction has been increased. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. Senior citizens, I think the White House estimate is about 85% of seniors are going to see a major tax refund. So this is going to help working families and seniors on fixed income all across our nation. You couple that with some of the work the president's already started in the energy sector. Secretary Burgum is correct. Getting rid of those leases on wind turbines makes sense because wind energy is not sustainable. It's far more expensive than what you get from natural gas or nuclear. I know that they're reopening 3 Mile Island in a couple of years in Pennsylvania. That's all going to matter to the bottom line of the American people. You want to lower costs in America? One, let people keep more of their money. That's what President Trump's agenda around tax policy for working families is going to do. Number two, you got to decrease energy costs. Again, that directly impacts the bottom line, the kitchen table issues of every American. So when the Democrats want to talk about affordability, that's like the arsonist trying to become the firefighter. They're the ones that created this mess. They don't have solutions for it. They just have talking points. Donald Trump's tax policy is really going to impact working families all across this country when they start filing their taxes early next year.
Well, I assume in the year ahead, you're going to be in campaign mode. You are campaigning to become the next governor of Florida. So what are you going to be doing in terms of the Congress versus your duties on the campaign trail?
Well, Maria, it's just double duty. That's what you have to do. When I'm supposed to be in Washington, I'm going to be in Washington. And when I'm not there, I'm going to be in some county in the state of Florida, working hard to earn the votes from the people of the great state of Florida. Look, we have the best state in the country based upon conservative principles, based upon common sense, law and order, and then continuing to grow the economic pie here in Florida. That's what we've built. I'm going to continue that mission from Governor DeSantis, but I'm very excited about our state because whether you want to talk about Cape Canaveral and the expansion of commercial space, tech, finance, and it's still maintaining our agriculture interests because Florida farming is critical, not just to Florida, obviously, but to the United States, along with tourism, construction, and healthcare. We have a wonderful story to tell. This is why people continue to choose Florida, but we're not just going to rest on those laurels. You want to talk about housing? We're going to find ways to actually decrease the regulatory burden on building homes in Florida so you can actually lower the governmental costs associated with housing to continue to try to drive down costs for the people of Florida. I'm very excited, but that doesn't mean that the job's not done in Washington, D.C. Just got to pull double duty. All
right. We'll be watching all of your work, Congressman. Good to see you this morning. Thanks so much. Merry Christmas, Byron Donalds.